Hello, one of you beautiful bros of the Maverick Nation. It's sequel time. Lala in Konoha 2. It's like FNAF 2. It's like Lala in Konoha 2. But this is kind of like the Dark Revival. Because, the first game of Benny, well, it was like chapters that came after the other chapter. But Dark Revival was just one big thing. The same thing with the Lala 2. It's kind of like a two-parter. Because, one part of it is like the same thing, and like the other part is like another thing. Like the first 5 chapters is one thing, and the second 5 chapters is another thing, which adds up to 10 chapters in total. Which actually they're not chapters because of the way this is structured. They're more like levels.
But don't digress, I'm the ringmaster you see, and this horror gave you flee. I take up every shadow, believe me. Now have a seat and grab your light. Tears begin to run, you try, but dark thoughts are the common grounds. I give myself to be complete. The answer may, our courtesy remains. So we offer you our darkest passion. Take off that blindfold that heals your soul and life. Left behind all this torture will unwind. I was never all that kind. If you were to rewind, then you would find I was left behind. Take your time to run and hide. I will catch you all the time. This night no longer shines. Your tears divine. You'll never be mine. You dare bring your filth into my lair? Well then, let us descend. Reborn again. Our souls are now revived. Breathing new life inside our dreams tonight. You have no idea what we've been through. Time and time again. Don't hold it on to what deadly is demise. We can't keep you
Stop holding back from me.
Ah, yes, Lala in Konoha 2. The second little project I'm working on for Maverick and Renegade Gamming. I actually have all the levels down. Not really how I'm gonna map them out, but that's our little adventure that we're going on here. Like I said, first half of the game is 5 levels. Second half is the next 5 levels. So that's 10 levels in total. But they're all stuck together in a Metroidvania style way. Or at least as Metroidvania style as you could think. There are certain things that you have to do in order to get to certain things. Of course, that's going to be a certainty. And also, there's a change in characters. Because this is actually going to be taking place 10 years, like an entire decade, after the events of the first Lala game. And everybody was, thinking that the nightmare was over because, the Rachel animatronic had defeated Lala. However, nothing's ever that simple. Well, at least not whenever it comes to Blacklight Entertainment's cursed history of the Lala animatronic. No, the game actually starts out with a certain someone getting 2 boxes in the mail. 2 human-sized boxes in the mail. And it basically, the thing is, from Blacklight Entertainment to Kakashi Hatake. Yes, we are playing as the only other living member of Team 7. Kakashi. And as he basically, gets these boxes into his house to basically open up, see what's in, he does note that it smells like death. Like, whatever's in there, it better not be a bunch of dead squirrels. This better not be some sort of prank. And so, after opening the boxes, you would get to see what's inside. The remains of the 2 player characters of chapters 2 through 5 of the first Lala game, Sakura and Sasuke. Yes, that's right. They're dead in this game. Somehow. However, these packages came with letters. The first one on the package that had Sakura's remains explains that if he wants answers, then he should go to the Blacklight Entertainment Company building, or factory. It's got a nice glow up over the years, and that's basically saying that the stuff you couldn't go into before, you can now go into. Like, there's more accessible stuff. And the second letter, on Sasuke's little package, do not think about it that wrong way. I did not. No. But, you know what I mean. Anyways, that letter basically states who was responsible for their deaths. In bold letters, one singular word, as in one singular name. Lala. Yeah, just going out there and saying it. That she is the reason that they're dead in this game. Well, turns out that the more that Kakashi pulls out the letter from the envelope, it turns out that it's not just one word, that there's actually some tiny little things at the bottom describing how she killed them in great detail that would make Am from I Have No Mouth But I Must Scream look like a sissy. So, yeah. Just wow. The first real place that you can, go to once, you inevitably go to the factory. Because once you go outside of Kakashi's house, it will literally say, go to the factory. And instead of saying go outside, it will say go to the factory. And so basically, and we'll transition to Kakashi being in the factory. The first place that she'll be able to go to, because she'll be able to see more things, is a little thing called the back office, aka Night Guard's room. Yes, that's right. There's a night guard's room, aka back office, inside this factory. However, once you try to go into the night guard's room, the back office, well, you'll be able to go in there, but you might not want to actually go too deep in. Because what will be seen is what looks to be the Rachel animatronic having some chow down time on what looks to be the head of something. If you look close enough, you might be able to tell what it is. However, by trying to, use, Kakashi's little perk of a Sharingan to look deeply and try and figure out what the frick is, Rachel animatronic is chowing down on. The moment you try to do that, a chase will ensue, and you will be chased. However, for those people with a very good reaction time, you will be able to notice what she was chowing down on. The head of a certain character from Poppy Playtime. A certain pink character from Poppy Playtime. And no, not Mommy Longlegs, I killed her. Yes, I'm staying true to the DSM's journey lore. Even in this, I am. So, what's another pink character? And no, it's not Catnap. Catnap is in, he's still being detoxed of the crazy. So if it's not either of those, then it can only be one other. That would be at the Pizzaplex, then Super Chaos Controlled to Konoha. That is, if you've been following that series, as well as following this one. There would only be one other. And that one would be Kissy Missy. Yes, Rachel was really chomping down on the bit of Kissy Missy. Her head. Which would mean she would basically have had to rip the head off first before eating it. Otherwise, Kissy Missy would have been flailing trying to get her off. Because his head would still been. But basically, if you manage to, be fast enough, you will come across a place called the Doll Complex. Not the Doll House, the Doll Complex. And you'll basically be chased all throughout the Doll Complex by the Rachel animatronic, as it will engage its own nocturnal mode once it enters the Doll Complex with you. Because once the Doll Complex is entered by Rachel, she will somehow find a way to shut down the power and shut down the lights. Reminiscent of what Lala did in Chapter 1 in the dollhouse. And then we will get to the third level. Arcade and shipping. The reason why it's called arcade and shipping is because this is basically where they make a bunch of arcade machines and ship them off to, well, places where arcades would be. You know, have Lala games be in arcades. Because they're making arcade machines. That's why it's called arcade and shipping. And basically, this is where, at the very end of the previous level, there would be like a loose vent above your head that, if you run fast enough, you can escape being electrified by it coming down. But the Rachel animatronic won't be so lucky. It will get electrified once the vent comes down, and also the vent coming down will cause the little floor panel to come down as well. Very reminiscent of what happened to Wuggy in Chapter 1. The end of Chapter 1 specifically. And basically after arcade and shipping is Vent Hub 1. Vent Hubs in this, there's only, basically, the Vent Hubs, there are only 2 of them. They're meant to act as sort of like a safe place. However, you can still get duped and jump scared if you're just trying to cheat the system. You know, being a dick. So these are just basically the cool down, chill little rooms. Well, that's all until you realize you can hear the sounds, well, of Lala giggling. And then you can hear the sound of something else. And then a crash sound. But that sounds like very far away. So the moment you exit the Vent Hub 1, you end up in the factory penthouse. And the moment you basically get into the factory penthouse is where you will actually get to see another little moment like what happened with the Rachel 1 tape back in the first game. But instead of Rachel 1, it will be The name of the tape? Brian #1. And no, not the dog from Family Guy. There are actually several things that indicate who Brian is amongst the company of Blacklight Entertainment. Basically indicating that he is the vice president of Blacklight Entertainment's creative team. The president being his older brother, Kenneth. And these two, Brian and Kenneth, they are of the Pentons family. It's kind of like in FNAF where you have the Emilys and the Aftons. But in this, it's the Strides and the Pennants. Brian Pennants, well, basically, he is the vice president of Blacklight Entertainment's creative team. And it's also said that this penthouse is kind of where he worked. And also where he got bugged a lot by his older brother, the president of the, thing. Until they kind of had a fallout and it didn't look very well for the company. After going through the factory penthouse, because, well, while it does end up jump scaring you if you stay in there for too long, you'll find Vent Hub 2. But don't stay in there for too long because the same thing will happen as before. Sure, you'll be a little bit more protected, but it won't stay that way for long. And basically, if you go out of the Vent Hub 2, you'll end up in the factory garden, which is more of an enclosed space with a lot of, gardenery, a lot of greenery stuff. Making you feel like you're in Jurassic Park or something. And due to all the darkness and shit, it can be really easy to get jumped on by either Rachel or freaking Lala. Especially Lala, since her nocturnal mode is very easy to just get jumped on because of how... Good God. And at the end of the garden, there's basically a factory cable car, which is the next level. Yes, you literally have to go through a series of cable cars until you get to the next thing. And by God, seeing as you're being chased as you're doing this, you can mess up so many times and fall to your death. Like, Lala and Rachel probably won't be the hardest thing for you to deal with. Probably just not falling to your death will be the hardest thing that you have to deal with. And the next level is just the warehouse. The warehouse is pitch black dark, which is good for Lala and Rachel since they have nocturnal modes, which allow them to see in that, but you can't see in that. That is, unless you decide to use the Sharingan, which is very limited, seeing as freaking Kakashi's is an implant. So you can only use it so much. And once you're out of it, well, you're sort of vulnerable. More vulnerable than you would be if you didn't use it. To an attack from either Rachel or Lala. Out of nowhere. Because of how random this place is. And the last level, Pentman's Study. Yes, I think I forgot the last level has his last name. I've been saying his last name wrong, haven't I? It's Pentman. Not Pentance, it's Pentman. Pentman's Study is the last level. Or last locale, or whatever. What have you. And in his study, will be a tape labeled Pentman 2. Playing this will tell you how to get rid of at least one of them. You have to be very careful on which one you get rid of, as this could mean life or death. Technically, since you meet a certain someone in Arcade and Shipping, that in particular level, since you meet a certain someone there, that certain someone being Huggy Wuggy. And after some talking, you end up befriending them. And they end up being your friend for the rest of your journey. And so, if you end up choosing the wrong tape, Huggy will just, throw his life in the way so that you don't die because you chose the wrong tape. But that's like a half and half chance of happening. But it's good to have Huggy there, just so that it can happen at all. So that you won't end up dead. And you can actually go out the back, because once that whole sequence is done over with, the whole thing that was locking it will end up shriveling up and dying. I guess there was some sort of possession that was keeping it from doing that. But once the possession is over, it will just shrivel up and die, and you can finally leave with the knowledge, and basically telling that knowledge to Tsunade, and she will basically have every Jonin and Anbu, and probably even every Chunin, go and burn down the factory for good. No more hauntings, no more hell to go through, because that shit is wildin'. However, at the very end of the game, while she won't end up dead, Tsunade will end up having a nightmare at the end of the game. A nightmare about Lala being very angry with her. That she is being very mean. And now Rachel is gone. GFG gone for good. And it's her fault. All her fault. As a ghostly apparition of Naruto would appear on top of her desk, repeating the mantra of all your fault. All your fault. All your fault. Until you actually gain control of Tsunade and are forced to run out of there or die. Because at the end of the stairs you end up tripping. That is literally a sequence that you cannot change. You will trip. And right before the ghostly apparition gets to you, the lights will be turned on by Shizune. And therefore the ghostly apparition will say one thing to you. Not fair. I almost had you. Granny Tsunade. Bachan. Tsunade. I almost had you. However, if you look very close, you can see that behind Shizune, in the shadow of a window, is the face of Lala. The one that managed to escape the fire. The crafty little devil. Lala. Even craftier than the smartest of any Jonin of the Leaf. Able to escape. And then the game would end. With no clear message of, if there would be a Lala 3 or if it would be coming soon. Because I'm gonna flip the lid on you guys. Is there gonna be a Lala 3? Is it gonna be coming soon? Who knows? I'm about to flip the lid on you guys. Who knows? Wow, not even an hour. In my haste to make my whole thing make sense, I made this under an hour. Well, that was Lala and Konoha 2. And the amount of support any of this gets... Oh, hey, what am I kidding? Well, I'm just gonna say it like I am that kind of YouTuber, even though I'm not. If the amount of support that this gets will probably be the way I, actually go about, even making a Lala 3. No, I'm not that kind of pretentious asshole. I'll make a Lala 3 whenever I want to. But just know, it will be done eventually. It will be done eventually. It will happen eventually. You won't know, but I will make it eventually. I just wanted to make this one really soon before doing any other game. As, after all, at the end of the first Lala, it did say coming soon, Lala 2. So I wanted to go ahead and already make the second Lala before I did anything else. Deuces.